playoff football entertaining? Yes, but it's also educational. I think obviously there's a lot of studying going on. Situational ball, the money plays, controlling the middle 8 minutes. It's way beyond what the analytics may say. It's just good old-fashioned football and studying what it took for these teams to play now deep into January.
Absolutely, Molly. And sometimes it's as simple as just being tougher than your opponent, and or more physical. One of the things um, that Clay and I have talked about over the last few weeks is, yes, the Raiders have made progress, and it's slow moving. I mean, it's baby steps, and that's what I've equated to. And just your thoughts on how the Raiders can avoid another season with baby steps and maybe a heavy diaper as well.
Well said. Well said. You put some thought into that, as you put thought into every word that comes out of your mouth. Listen, I think that everything adds up. And I think back, I hate to go back to Philadelphia here in my former life, but I think about the 76ers and that 10-win season. And you heard Brett Brown tell me at the half, down 40 to the Clippers, everything adds up. We're not skipping steps. I don't care, in terms of development and your eye for talent. What I've got right now, the men that I have in front of me, I'm going to take them and I'm going to elevate their game, and we're going to rise to the occasion. And everyone thought he was crazy. And, I just think that everything adds up, Mike. And certainly with high character guys, of which this franchise is stacked with, right, left, in between, every single corner, top to bottom. When you got high character guys, it certainly makes the job a heck of a lot easier.
That's Molly Sullivan, Raiders reporter with 8 News Now. You can follow her on Twitter and Instagram at Molly Sullivan TV. All right, so Derek Carr, how do you feel he's absorbing some of this offseason, taking a look at some of the Super Wildcard games, because he is now looking through the glass at teams he competed against and could have beaten and did beat the Cleveland Browns. But at the same time, are we taking Derek Carr for granted compared to some of the quarterbacks who are floundering in the playoffs?
I'm glad you say that. I'm glad you said that, Clay. I think certainly some folks are taking Derek Carr for granted, and maybe perhaps seeing everything on the screen now. When you can take a deep breath, we're 8 days into the off season, so I think everybody's starting to kind of come up for a breath here, and I think that a lot of folks have taken him for granted. I think Gruden likes to use the term pounding the rock, much like another coach I covered, Greg Popovich, and I think back to Derek Carr's first media availability during training camp with us, and the aggression, the commitment, the confidence he showed, and his play certainly backed up his statements. He overcame a revolving door on the offensive line. Let's not get it twisted, which, by the way, was a group that finished with consistent numbers despite all the injuries, all the COVID-19 related setbacks, all of the drama. They still got the job done. And if I learned anything, Clay, about Derek Carr in my first 5-6 months covering the team here, it's that he's going to approach this offseason the right way and continue to lead his team with strength. And I'm going to use a word that some guys shy away from, but not the two that I'm talking to here, because you guys get it. Grace. He's going to use strength and grace into this offseason. And I think that, our friend Ed Graney had an excellent piece with Mark Davis recently. And Davis said, results are the only thing that speaks. Difficult to evaluate this season for everybody, not just Derek Carr in terms of, continuity, but you better believe everybody inside the building's doing their part, to get the job done. I don't know about you, but I've never been good at the off season. I need to stay busy. And I think that the Raiders are certainly going to be busy this off season and in the best possible way, because there is so much potential in the mix. They just got to fine-tune things here. The answers are within, I think.
They are, Molly. They really are. It's just, sometimes it's a timing thing. So here's my example. Like everybody, we got to get a new D coordinator. We got to fix the defense. We got to go out and get premium players. And, okay, how much is that going to cost, right? But now, because 2020 seems like it was a wasted opportunity, here's what we're up against. Losing Nelson Aguilar, losing Richie Incognito, Gabe Jackson. You got to establish a contract situation there. You got to establish a contract situation with Josh Jacobs. Trent Brown, what are you going to do right there? So as we want to fix the defense, all of a sudden the offense could have problems. D. Carr, closer to expiring contract. He would only have one more year on this contract after 2021 season. So this is where it gets tricky, because on one side of the ball, it looks like the Raiders are already playoff caliber offensively, but yet they're still far away and they have some work to do to improve the roster. But then you run into that time constraint, and that to me is where it gets difficult.
Man, you always bring the perspective. I love it, because we could get wrapped up in the TC search, right, and all the names swirling around. We can get into that later, but I think for number one, you mentioned Nelly off the top there, Mike. 48 catches for 896 yards and 8 touchdowns. Not too shabby for a cool $1 million. And I, of course, covered him in Philadelphia. I know his background. He's more than all those, outdated memes. If I see one more of those, I swear I thought I escaped them from Philadelphia. But yeah, he's one guy. And you look at the missed opportunities. You look at the Trent Brown. You had Gruden saying that he had Trent Brown coming in to be the Braun of the line, LeBron James of the line, so that didn't come to fruition. Yeah, there's a lot of missed opportunities. So, Pritch, you're right. You got to maintain perspective here and see the big picture. The folks that are going straight to the defensive side of the ball and just trying to fix those problems, that's lazy. That's just reading the headline, right? It's not going deep into what this team is about. And I think because so much good happened on the other side of the ball, they got to maintain that. Otherwise, you're doing a seesaw effect, and that's never fun, right?
Molly Sullivan, 8 News Now Raiders reporter at Molly Sullivan TV on Instagram and on Twitter. When you look at the defensive coordinator coaching search, do you feel like hearing names like a guy like Gus Bradley or Joe Barry, who's Rod Marinelli's son-in-law, how important do you think familiarity is now with this hire? Because we also hear a name like Chris Richard from Dallas. Okay, we see some familiarity. He's been there with Rod Marinelli. How do you find the familiarity with the guys on staff already and who they're looking for to bring in?
Yeah, it's of the utmost importance, Clay. I mean, you said the example with Richard. He worked under Bradley in Seattle, also worked with Rod Marinelli and Gruden. So there is that familiarity, and I think the good ones all run in the same circle, and it's funny how that works, right? I mean, they stay in touch. They see what philosophies are in tune with what they already have cooking here, because what's cooking here in Las Vegas is something incredibly special. So, the right hire here is of the utmost importance. So I think being familiar with them will certainly help with that in terms of trust and maintaining what they got going on. I think the Raiders, like we said, are facing a lot of critical decisions here, and hiring a defensive coordinator at the top of the list. I know they're looking outside of Henderson, but what Rod Marinelli did there in his three games, one of which was on a short week, I was pretty impressed.
Yeah.
He's super disciplined. He's my kind of coach, for what it's worth. And I don't know, Clay, what were you going to say? I'm impressed at the job that he's done and will continue to do for this team.
I know what you're saying, because, even with just the 2 days to prepare for the Chargers, there was a certain semblance of calm of what he was doing, at least to establish, we're going to stop the run. We need to do that. At least they were able to accomplish that in his first game as interim. But over time, it looked like they were more of a stable defense. And, given time with what he wants to do, I have a feeling, since even Gruden mentioned that Marinelli would be a part of this coaching search, that whether he's how much of it is, it seems as though that his fingerprints are going to be all over this, because they trust him, and they want to trust his ability to go and at least evaluate the other coaches that can work well with the personnel they have, because it's just too late to go and do a defensive overhaul. They have to add pieces to what they have.
Yeah, trust is huge, and Marinelli backed everything up, and I just, that was not an easy situation. And then, obviously Paul Guenther, 45 games in the role, including against in Week 11 without 10 of his guys on the practice field, in case you forgot, but who forgot around here? But yeah, I think trust is huge. And again, my Raiders pregame live, we have our final show this past Sunday, and we were supposed to pick a season highlight. And knowing me, fellas, and how philosophical I can get, deep and philosophical, of which Gruden tries to stay away from at each and every press conference. Can I tell you what my season highlight? Do we have time? Are we up against?
Oh no, we have time, and I have one more question too. But yeah, I want to know what. Let me guess. It had to do with something with Nelly. Was it Nelly Aguilar related?
Well, that 85 yard beauty was a good one, but I went deeper than that. Okay, so it's a three-prong approach here. John Gruden every Monday morning, and how he would approach the week, set the stage right on our Zoom video conference. He would break down the opposing quarterback, the other heavyweights, along with his own players, with such joy. That's my season highlight, man. And I had to fight hard to get that in our show. And then you got Carol Davis lighting the Al Davis Memorial Torch to open Allegiant Stadium. That's my season highlight. The Raiders' first win at Carolina, seeing LV flash up on the screen, that's my season highlight. And joining you guys, Pritch and Clay, every Tuesday morning, that's my season highlight. I think back to what Doris Burke said years ago, and how LeBron James, I mentioned LeBron James how many times in this morning, I'm sorry, but she mentioned LeBron James and how when players saw that he trusted Doris and that he respected her and her work, then players kind of followed suit. And I think that you guys are the brawn of Raiders broadcasting, because it was a ride for me in week 1 and 2, and then what a meaningful season it was. And so I know I'm long-winded, but I just wanted to say thank you for letting me talk football with you every week this season. It was a blast. You asked about defensive coordinator. I go off on a tangent. I'm in mid-season form.
I love it. I know. It's so great. That's why we love having you on, Molly, because we know we're going to go in different areas, but it's always in the right direction. You know what? I want to ask you, though, and if you say LeBron, you got to say it like Stephen A. Smith. LeBron! When you do interviews with guys like Brent Musburger, and I know he was a part of your Raiders pregame show, the final one, you were out there at Allegiant Stadium early on Sunday morning, just 24 hours ago. What was it like, though, and what did Brent share with you guys? Because this was a great season for him, too, because it's awesome for what he had to do, calling games as the Raiders were on the road. He would be back at Allegiant Stadium covering with Big Link, and they'd be doing it together. This was an unprecedented year for him as well.
Yeah, which, by the way, guys, I didn't even know that they didn't travel, because judging by the calls that I would listen to every game day, didn't sound like he was at Allegiant Stadium on the road. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Dude, incredible. But yeah, Clay, first of all, thank you. You know what you did to help facilitate the interview. But it was just, I was trying to time this interview throughout the course of the season, for the right time, right? And then something always happened. And I'm like, it's not right. Let me wait. And so who better to help put a bow on this season than Brent Musburger? And we spoke for 30 minutes, and I could have gone for hours. And,
cool.
And I was born in Montana. I don't claim it because I grew up in Vegas. So Brent Musburger is one of the few that can get that out of me. But I asked him one question that really stuck with me really quick here was that I asked him, when life throws you a curveball, okay? And I brought up the UNLV Duke. The night before UNLV Duke, he, of course, was working for CBS at the time, year 22 with CBS, or CBE, right? Doesn't he do that pronunciation?
Very nice.
Right, and he got some unfortunate news the night before UNLV Duke 1990, that they were going to move in a different direction. And what did Brent do? He manned up and he thanked everybody behind the camera, because that's where the real talent is on the broadcast. And he moved forward. And so he told me, Molly, being a Montana girl, that when you fall off a horse, you get back up on the saddle and you learn to ride again. And boy, he did. And he has set the standard for sports broadcasting and how you approach every game like it is the biggest of your lifetime. And he approached that interview like it was the biggest interview of all time. And that, my friends, is the beauty of Brent Musburger, that you can't fake it. He is authentic. And anyhow, I just what a privilege it's been to tell the Raiders story, and certainly have Brent Musburger now with us in Las Vegas.
That's Molly Sullivan, Raiders reporter with 8 News Now, at Molly Sullivan TV on both Instagram and Twitter. It's awesome. That was a fantastic story, and thank you for taking us behind the curtain there. And let's do this again real soon. Even though it's the off season, there's still plenty to talk about, and we love what you do for us. Thank you so much, Molly.
Back at you guys. Thank you for everything. We'll talk to you soon.
All right.